We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
All right, welcome everybody to another edition here of Unsportsmanlike Conduct here on the Sports Box here on this Monday evening, and we have a special edition here tonight. I am Paul McCree alongside Big V, Mike Velarde as always, and our special guest this evening, Hamilton native Joe Gatto, live from Arizona, just newly signed with the Texas Rangers last week, officially signing a major league contract on the 40-man roster. Joe, first off, thanks for joining us and congratulations on the great news.
Thank you, guys, and I'm happy to be back. It's been a little bit, so I'm excited.
A little hectic there for you, too, as well, last week or two.
Yeah, and Joe's been on with us before. I believe was it him and LT on at the same time? Was it the one time, or
no,
did we have LT? It was different times. I thought we could actually manage to have both of you guys on now. Your good friend LT. And who's with the New York Mets organization. But, for those of you that are tuning in that aren't from Hamilton, no, this isn't the Impractical Jokers actor, Joe Gatto, which he probably gets that about 75 times a day.
Yeah, we were. I was actually reading an article about that. Joe actually referenced that in his latest. I think it was the press reached out to you, and you mentioned that. And I think it was in the one of the Twitter articles I was reading as well. Oh man, even the Texas Rangers retweeted something, and a lot of the memes and stuff that were coming underneath were, I can't wait to see, the Impractical Jokers guy, and all kinds of stuff underneath of it.
It's insane. It's probably been like the past 4 years now, ever since I got into baseball. You can on Twitter, you have your messages, and you have the messages that people you don't follow send you. And I can't even go through them because everyone just thinks I'm him, and I'll get the craziest messages. But and it's kind of always been up and down. There'll be certain surges where they're in spring training when I would get on, they would blow up and stuff. But then this past week, I've never had anything. It's still nonstop. I've got buddies sending me stuff. I mean, it's fun though. I enjoy it.
Where's Murr? There you go.
Where's Murr?
Listen, I told you the one time you were referenced on the show. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was how long ago? Yeah.
You were bubbled on the show. Not
I was
the Ranger,
bubbled on the
not
show.
the Angels picture.
Yeah, and then something happened with I reached out to them on social media, and then Joe reached out, the show reached out. So I mean, it's cool that there's that awareness there.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, like I said, we'll start out by just telling our fans that you spent 6-7 years in the Angels organization, drafted in the second round by them. Kind of just go through, what it was like. Give us the people who don't know you, your background, what happened with the Angels, where you're at right now. Run through that for us.
So I was drafted in 2014 in the second round by the Angels. I played for them for 6 full years. You can call it. This was my 7th year, but obviously with COVID, I didn't have the chance to play. So I essentially finished out my minor league contract with them. And then just when free agency hit, the 5 days after the 5th game of the World Series. And then that's kind of what led me to this point now. But, my time with the Angels, I'm super grateful for them. I always will be. They gave me the opportunity out of high school, to pursue this path and stuff like that. And, my career with them was up and down. I've had some really good years, some rough years, some good months, some rough months. And it's kind of one of those things where I think I just needed a really fresh start, that was kind of I think that was the best thing for me, wherever it ended up at the time. I just kind of needed a fresh start and just kind of a reset button, give someone I kind of hit a reset button this past summer, we kind of talked about, I'm sure we'll get into. But that's kind of what I needed, man. I needed a reset button, just kind of need to recreate my name in baseball. And I think I did a pretty good job of that this summer.
Yeah, Joe, talk a little bit about, I guess, the process COVID happens, and obviously that really impacted the entire landscape of baseball, but in particular minor leaguers who did not get a chance to pitch in games this year. There was no minor league season. So Talk about how that uncertainty from the spring, then the summer, like you're thinking maybe you're going to get an opportunity to be assigned to the instructional camp for the Angels, and working your craft, obviously, in an indoor facility throughout the summer. So just talk about that a little bit, how that all went about.
It was a strange year. The last thing I really remember about spring training, there's not much I remember, but I think it was when who's the guy from the Jazz that got it? COVID.
Oh, yeah. Rudy Gobert. He kind of started this whole thing.
When he got it, that's when everyone was like, that's when the NBA shut down. And then that's kind of when the rumors, but when we found out via Twitter. We never found out from our organization or other teams. We saw it on Twitter, MLB's canceling spring training. So right then and there, no one really knew what was going to happen. We don't know if this was a week thing, a year thing, or what. But I remember the next day, me and my buddy Ryan Clark, who's still with the Angels, he's in AA, got up to AAA with them last year. We went over to a facility in Tempe called Push Performance, and it was right when COVID hit. Kind of had no idea what we were going to do, and at the time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to work out there. Because I usually work out our facility, the Angels facility in the offseason, so I wasn't sure what we were going to do. But I didn't know, so I was like, I'm going to go through with this just because if that is shut down for a while, at least I have a place. And I was fortunate enough that the owner of Push and the staff there, they stayed open the whole quarantine. I think we shut down for 1 week when stuff kind of really got crazy. But even then, we took our precautions. We were 3 guys at a time, stuff like that, and just kept it really limited. But that's where I kind of really transformed myself this summer was, getting and diving into more of the analytics of myself, whether it was on the mound, off the mound, mechanically, ball release, stuff like that. And what I've been telling people is the best thing that I've found out about it was most times in a minor league season, it's always a work in progress. You're always working on something. And that's I feel like a lot of people might not understand about the minor leagues is you're there to obviously play baseball and move up, but at the same time, it's not as what you see on TV, right? There's a couple times where they might tell you to go out there and only do this or only do that or try to do this and try to do that. But at the end of the day, if you ask any player, it's really hard to go out there and commit to something when you're so result driven or outcome driven. It's hard to go out there and work on things if you're just going to go walk the house or you're supposed to throw 1-0 changeups and you leave them and they get hit. It's really hard to buy into that. So for the first time, I was game speed without game. So it was a unique opportunity where I could sit back and kind of dissect every little thing. And that's what I kind of started to do April, May. And then when the alternate site started coming up, I kind of had to keep in the back pocket that was a possibility. Right. And kind of what we said before, I didn't get invited to that. I kind of had an idea. And for me, that was, like I said, not the nail in the coffin, but kind of okay, opportunity's not going to be there. How can I make my opportunity? I knew free agency was my next step. At the time, I wasn't sure what they were going to do with service time, if they were going to count this for a year for me. That was a big concern. So that was probably my biggest scare early on was I don't know if I'm going to get this year, which is tough. So once I kind of had an idea that was the opportunity, I figured with free agency, I need to make the most of it. So whether, I was fortunate enough to go to Driveline in Seattle for a week. They just opened up the brand new facility. It was unbelievable. I got to work with some great guys there and, take the information I got there back to my facility in Tempe and just put it together with the staff there. And it kind of led me to where I'm at right now.
And also, in signing with Texas, this is a pretty young team. They're rebuilding. Mm-hmm. New manager last year, and Chris Woodard. Obviously John Daniels has been there for a while. They just hired a GM today, Chris Young, former pitcher. Yeah. So they're revamping basically from the front office all the way to, obviously to the roster. Did that make it a little bit easier for you knowing that, that's your path to chase your dream, to get to the big leagues, and make your debut is to go to a team that is young, a lot of inexperience, and you're going to be right into that mix of competing and getting a fair shot at it?
I wouldn't necessarily say that was my driving factor. I never wanted to be the person in free agency that says, all right, I'm going to look for the team that I can have the easiest way up. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to the team that had, and you could talk to my agent about this or the guys I work out with, is my goals were always, opportunity had to come first. I needed the best. I'm going to go to the place that gives me the best opportunity. And everything kind of fell second to that. Opportunity was big. player development was really huge for me. I wanted to go to a place where I can get better. And at the same time, if I kind of fall off the wagon, I can get they can get right back on it. That was like a big factor for me. Money was never a thing, man. I wasn't going to go to the team that threw me the most money or, did anything like that. For me, it was opportunity. And with the Rangers, I spoke to Daniels. I was able to speak to Woody. Like, they put me in touch with every single person that I would need to in order to feel comfortable with the decision. And like you said, it's a young team in a rebuild. And I think that's an exciting time. I think everyone might have a certain persona about them or, think a certain way of them right now. But I think, like, you get a group of guys that are all young, all kind of understand the situation. It kind of gives them a chip on their shoulder. No one wants to be the team that's young and can't win. I don't think the mindset either of this team. I think this team is a hungry group of guys, and I'm excited to kind of join the part of that. And like I said, I got a lot of work to do still come spring training time, but the biggest thing I'm grateful for with them is the opportunity they gave me.
Yeah, Joe, as you know, I've been DJing with your uncle for a long time. I've actually taught you in middle school for coaching basketball. So we're talking 13, 14 years ago. Now you're making me feel old that you're 25 and you've been actually in a minor league baseball team, in a major league baseball system now. So, all of this talk and reminiscing and, I kind of want to know, now that I'm kind of looking up at you, what, going through all of this and this like stardom, like what do you see for yourself now? Like, press conferences and all of these different things that you're going to be involved in. And, how are you going to take a step back and kind of, are you going to like take the moment in and kind of say to yourself, like, all right, I'm signing a Major League Baseball contract. I've had people call me. I've had papers call me. Like, when do you say to yourself, all right, now it's time to get to work? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need to make this level now.
I think when I first found out, it was probably like a week and a half before it broke. So I was holding it in, and like I was like, all right, this is a great opportunity. I'm super excited. But like kind of what you said, where I was taking in, I think when it broke on Twitter and I saw it kind of explode a little bit, I was able to sit back and just say, okay, this is cool. This is fun. But like going on with what you said though, as soon as that Thursday happened, that next Friday was back to work.
Yeah.
And like, again, it's a great opportunity. I'm super excited for the buzz I've been getting and stuff like that. But with that being said, like, that's only part of it now. The opportunity is there now. It's kind of like, I got to take that opportunity and run with it. So, the work started the very next day. As soon as Friday came in, my gym I was at was super excited. But like, it didn't really change anything. Like I was still there today from 9:30 to 1:30 doing all my baseball and lifting stuff. Like like I sat back, I was able to take it in that day. I knew it was going to happen. I kind of just sat around and waited and let everything come in. And like now, I'm having fun being able to talk to you guys and talk to other people and do all this. But, at the end of the day, like the work's already started because I still need to end up someplace. I still need to have a goal I need to achieve. And that's kind of the mindset.
I'm trying to figure out what the difference is between you and Paul, because Paul goes to the gym that long and he's not a professional baseball player.
Here we go. It has a lot to do with just having God-given talents like Joe
Paul
has.
None of that. Paul has none of that.
Sometimes a little social hour. Something wrong with a little social hour at the gym.
Yeah. I don't go there for social, especially nowadays. That's the last thing I want to do.
That's true. That's true.
Adrenaline. You just put your mask on and get the work and get out of there in like 45 minutes. Right. That's about
exactly.
That's all I'm going to do at this point. But I mean, the anticipation. I mean, you're talking about it was December 7th. I mean, you probably can't wait for it like snap of a finger for February to get here and report to spring training. I mean,
it's been so long since I put on a uniform. It's it'll be by the time it'll be almost a year since I was able to put on a uniform.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the little things you kind of miss and take for granted is like pants, jersey, a baseball hat, like just little things like that. I'm so used to throwing on a mound indoors right now and competing with myself every day. Like I'm excited to compete with other people, be in a team environment again, because I haven't had that, in over a year now.
Same thing with me, man. All the high school season was gone.
No.
We haven't done anything. We haven't had a thing.
Well, you had that special game in July.
Well, we had 1 week. We had 1 week in March, and that was it.
Yeah,
that's all we had. Did you guys even have anything for minors?
No, minor league camp didn't. So I was fortunate enough to throw in a couple big league. I think I threw in the last big league game I threw in. And then the next day it was kind of shut down. So no, when it comes to minor league camp, no one even got to do anything.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Got a lot of things coming in. Got a lot of well wishes. Got Mike Galetta, whose house you were at, one of the co-hosts of of our network. Wishing you well. We had I don't know if you saw, but Uncle Ralph popped on.
There he is.
Yeah, giving us a shout. But yeah, we're lucky to have you on, especially not just because you're a fellow Hamiltonian, but listen, just because you didn't go to Hamilton and you went to the prep doesn't mean we don't like you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, especially with like I said, I read a lot of articles today. Listen, there is concern. I'm not going to throw out all positives in this whole thing. There are concerns that because you haven't reached, let's say AAA, and the Rangers are looking, they're giving you, I guess, a shot. You want to call it a shot at a major league contract, and you haven't reached that level yet. Now, let me know if I'm wrong by saying this. Them giving you a major league contract isn't necessarily giving you a major league contract to be at that level yet. Okay, you have to make that.
It's incentive laden,
right? It's incentive. It's essentially, they added me to their 40-man major league roster, which is a huge thing. And a lot of people don't understand the way, that works. With, to get to the big leagues, you need to get on a roster first. And if there's not room for if there's no roster spots open, they need to either make room or you're not going to go. So a big thing with this free agency was trying to get that, because you kind of bypass a lot of the stuff. Yep. But with that being said, I see a lot of articles where it's like, he's signed a 1-year contract for big league minimum. Well, that's if I'm there,
right.
So, I can go into big league camps and they can option me down to AAA by the end of the year, depending on my performance. So the goal is break with the big league club out of camp. That's my personal goal.
Absolutely.
Will it be a thing? I don't know. It's going to come down to how well I come into spring training, how well I perform.
Right.
These are guys that, took a risk. I haven't thrown to them in person. They've never, they've seen me throw in the past,
right.
Whether it's, their big league pitching coach was actually a pitching coach in low A affiliate I played against. So he got to see me throw back in the day, but no one's really seen me recently. So for them, it's a shot. It's not a shot in the dark, because there's video they've seen, but they never had hands on me yet. But again, it's one of those things where it's like the opportunity is there. What will I do with it? And that's what I'm grateful for, because the ball's in my court now.
I read a lot of Texas was fairly hot after you in the draft too, apparently, right? At that level.
Texas was probably the first team I ever talked to in pro ball. I had some family and friend connections with them where it wasn't anything like this kid's going to get drafted. It was, here's a 15-year-old kid that's got upside. What, as a professional scout, what do you see in him? That's what the first ever connection I ever had with them was. What transpired after that was, there's a local scout, not from this country, doesn't have family here. We grew close to him during the draft. Even though I didn't end up with him, he would come to my house for Thanksgiving because he had no family here. But there was always that connection and familiarity with the Rangers.
Right.
So that's kind of why not a comfortable yes, but there was some familiarity there that made this whole process, and I think the situation happened easier.
And so what, I'm sure you're going to say that, obviously it behooves you to be as versatile as possible, especially in bullpen roles, because there's so many different type of roles now. Somebody's going to pitch, 2 innings, 3 innings, be that kind of that long man, because you have starting experience too in the minor league, to then transition more into as a reliever over the last couple of years. But did they tell you what they really want to see from you going into February and March? Is it, a couple innings, or, maybe just be a 1 inning and really get that crust of that lineup out? What do they view you right now?
That's the big talks I'm going to have going forward. This is still super fresh for me. And a lot of it's just kind of getting, like I said, I just did a physical this Monday. I cleared the physical last Monday, I should say. So a lot of it's been super surface level right now, just kind of getting introduced to people, your highs and nice to meet you and stuff like that. But that's the next step, is to hear about what they expect of me. Mm-hmm. And a big thing with this free agency was, we kind of talked about on the major league level, as it's starting to slow down a little bit. with like what I want to do is get into a team early so I can have a plan of attack going forward. I didn't want to sign a free agent deal a week before spring training started and not have any, all the stuff I work on this offseason, they might not want any of it. So, that's that conversation that we're going to have soon is, okay, this is what I'm doing. What do you guys want? How can we meet halfway? Are we on the same page? That's the conversations that are going to happen in the next few weeks.
And have you talked to any of the guys currently on the 40-man roster yet?
I have not. I know Tyler Phillips just from being a South Jersey kid, and I played against him when he was at Bishop Eustace. I haven't seen him in a while, so those are some of the guys I'm going to reach out to.
How's the whole comparison with Joey Gallo and the Joey Gatto? I know that that's throwing that out at you.
That's going to be tough. I dealt with that when I first got into pro ball, where I would get his cards that how that works is a lot of people just find your address and they'll
just sign it. Just sign it as him and send it back.
I know, and so I would get a lot of his cards when he was still in the minor leagues.
Wow.
So it's going to be interesting to see that interaction as well.
Oh man, you might as well just change your name. It'll be like Giancarlo.
I got to figure it out.
Giancarlo.
I'm going to put the light on real quick because it's getting dark here.
Yeah, you're good.
There we go.
Yeah, it is. What are you? 2 hours? You five? Is it 5:22
we're 2
there?
hours behind. We're 2 hours behind out here, and the sun. It's starting to go down right now. It's like almost 5:30 here.
Mountain. Come on,
Mountain time. Yep.
I said 2 hours.
It was 3 not too long ago.
Should know this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it like almost split between the state, like right at the end towards California's Pacific?
Yeah, we never change our clocks here. We never touch our clocks.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so while everyone else pushes their clocks back or forward,
which I don't understand. Yeah, I was gonna say
it's unbelievable. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Here it gets dark literally 4:30. Like it's
when I was home for
terrible.
Thanksgiving, it was insane.
It was bad. Yeah.
Bobby, I think it's young Bobby. We already talked about this, but he's popping on to break some stones now. So yeah. So
the good old Practical Jokers.
Yeah. Actually, now that young Bobby's on, we had. I don't think that you would have seen it, or you might have because it was on Twitter when we put a senior video together this year for these guys. You're actually in a picture with Bobby on the senior video. I don't know how long ago the picture was, but I think it was when Bobby was in the senior leagues. So it was probably a picture about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
but you're in that highlight video from him. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What do you miss? Just a shot in the dark question. What do you miss most about this area? It could be anything. Restaurant. Whatever.
I would say it's like a combination. Like back home is it's home to me. Obviously I miss my family, friends, little things like that. But yeah, like the local restaurants. Like there's some I love Bernie's Pizza. It's my number one pizza, and nothing will ever change. So I miss stuff like that. But I will say I do love Scottsdale, where it's a fun area. It's a little. It's just I have the perfect balance. Going home to Hamilton is that way, and then coming out here is super different. It's not like I live in a similar place per se.
Yeah, I would think so.
But I just miss it. I love back home. I love the area. I love the Four Seasons and stuff like that. But you can't beat in the sun. Right now, it's mid 60s. It's 70s.
Yeah, there's probably not an Italian village out there in Scottsdale.
No, there's not. We got some decent Italian places, but nothing like back home.
Yeah, it's 30 degrees here right now. Cool. So happy for you that you can get that 60-degree weather out there. And then you said and you did mention you're coming back home obviously for Christmas. So I mean, you got that nice balance, couple weeks. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, where you came home, and then you're going to spend a couple weeks out there, and then come back home for a week or two.
And what was nice, with this whole COVID thing, I was fortunate enough to go home during the summertime. I'm usually, if I get a chance to go home in the summer, it's the All-Star weekend. If I'm not playing in a game, and it's a day, or it's a fly in on one day, you have one full day, and you fly out the next day. So I was able to come home for 2 weeks, spend some time with the family. Just do stuff I never usually get to do in summer, go to the beach. I never get to do that kind of stuff, So for me, that was something for again, 2020, rough year, but for myself and baseball, just life in general, it was a pretty good year for me.
So we do. I mentioned this to Joe earlier. We do a little segment on this. We have a Stump the Fans or the co-host. Okay. I did mention this to Joe, and he's not going to have any idea.
Absolutely not. So you got to take this home, Wally.
Here is our question. Here is our question. Okay. Who is the last pitcher to start 40 games in a season? Okay. The clue is it was for the Texas Rangers. Okay.
I mean, my first guess would be, Nolan Ryan, but
so
that's probably too
we're gonna
obvious.
If anybody else knows, without looking it up, of course, I won't give you the year quite yet. Okay. Last pitcher to start 40 games in a season. It was for the Texas Rangers.
I'm sorry. We have to let the fans respond first.
Well, I mean, we don't have to, but
they did. They did last week.
I
would love to know what his arm felt like starting for 40 games. That's tough.
Well, there is a reason behind this, so it's
okay.
Okay, Paul may get it.
Ooh, that was a little hint, I think there.
There is a little hint. There is a little hint.
I think I'm on to something.
But see.
See, I'm not even around for this, but I think I know where you're going with it.
This was 1987. I will give you the year as well.
Okay.
So we don't have to wait. We can continue to talk, but if you have a guess, your guess of Nolan Ryan was incorrect, by the way.
Another Texas Rangers pitcher in 1987.
Yes. 40 starts in a year.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's about what, 31, 32 if you don't get hurt, assuming you don't get an injured list stint in the season.
I don't even know if starts are as much of a concern as like innings. Like most guys are, typically over 200 innings. So I would be curious to see 40 starts, what those innings were like, especially back then.
Well, I kind of gave it away when Joe said about the little clue. So what do you think the clue had something to do with? What do you think, Joe, that the clue had something to do with?
Does he happen to have a surgery named after him?
No, not a surgery.
Okay, so now I'm off of that.
Well, your mother said the year you were born.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. Yeah, I was born in 87. Thank you.
All right. So he is a knuckleballer.
Oh.
Ooh.
Well, I guess that helps a little bit, right? Well, not the answer part, but throwing a knuckleball maybe doesn't strain your arm as much.
There's only so many knuckleballers. So who were the?
Well, it's not Tim Wakefield. He didn't pitch in 87.
Not Tim Wakefield.
Yeah, and he didn't pitch for Texas. So
okay, so that narrows a couple knuckleballers down. Chris Bartz.
Did he get it?
Chris Bartz. Charlie Huff.
Wow.
Charlie Huff. That is correct.
Never would have gotten that.
Now, Charlie Huff, like I said, Charlie Huff ended up pitching for the Marlins when the Marlins came in. Okay. I don't remember the exact teams he pitched for, but Charlie Huff was actually a good pitcher in his time, a good knuckleballer. I mean, I don't think he was as good as Wakefield, but
no,
Charlie Huff was pretty good. 40 starts is a lot of starts, man, even for a knuckleballer.
Yeah, I would.
It's all that's a dying breed at this point. I mean, because they don't want you to throw that many innings anymore. I mean, it's just
baseball's taking a crazy turn. It's so different than even when I was in high school playing. The stuff that's coming out and just everything that's gone up in the past. I was graduating in 2014, so 6-7 years. Just the average velocity jumps every year. And back when I was in high school, 100 by a professional baseball player is still a big deal. Now you have guys throwing 100 in high school, and it's just taking a crazy turn.
Well, I mean, nowadays, it's like the formula where, okay, you get your starter through the first, maybe 2 times through the order, which you take, and then you match up your bullpens. I mean, that's what the Dodgers have been doing.
Yeah.
The last
what's the other new big the openers too? Where you get the guy through the first 3, and then you let your starter face 4, 5, 6, and go from there. So you only get that first 3 1 or 2 times. That's another interesting thing.
All right, here you go. Real quick. 1987. He was 39 years old. He had 40 starts. His record was 18-13 that year. Okay, and he threw 285 innings.
285. Oh
yes,
Lord.
He pitched till he was 46 years old.
Yeah,
that's just not happening anymore.
In 1994 with the Florida Marlins, he threw 113 innings.
He threw in his career 3,801 innings. I'm looking on Baseball Reference now.
You know what his career record was, Joe? 216 and 216. That was a career record.
Even. Yeah, just being right on
dead even. That's a lot. That's a lot of innings, man.
25-year career. Jeez.
That's 1970 to 1994. Crazy.
Wow.
Hey, that's good. Hey, listen, I pull up some good trivia questions for this group.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. That was a good
doozy.
And you tied it in with the Texas Rangers theme here and all that.
You didn't know that was going to happen. There you go.
Here we got
perfect. Listen, this is a perfect question for. Wait, hold on. We got your buddy on. We got your buddy, LT. Here we go. We're going to have a guest room in Texas for when the Mets come to town.
Of course.
Who's paying for the room? Who's paying for the room?
If he's coming to me, I'll get it that time.
No,
you got him.
I'll pick it up. Yeah.
All right.
LT owes you down the line now.
Brian Attard is another co-host on the Sports Box. He has a very important question.
Okay.
Should Blake Snell should have been pulled?
Ooh, that's the tough one, huh? This is the big question of the offseason. What are your guys' take on that?
Well, no.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's a game. It's a game where you have to live. I mean, how are you going to take out your best pitcher? But they've been doing it that way all year. I mean, how do you go against what you've been doing all year?
Yeah.
Then if you leave him in, we've been doing it that way all year. Why do we go against it? So you're not going to win either way.
It's one of those things where you fall on your own sword kind of deal. Or it's
exactly.
The Rays are probably top 5 analytically in baseball, especially when it comes to pitching.
Yeah.
And that's like that big argument nowadays is like, at what point do you let baseball be baseball and analytics be analytics? But like it's
right and have a feel for the game, right?
Brian, as a player. Yeah. I mean, as a player, I completely agree with Brian. No, you can't.
Yeah.
He's on a roll. He's your best player, best pitcher. You got to have the ball in his hand. You got to let him do what he does. But that being said, it's kind of what you said is, well, if it backfired, then everyone argues, well, you haven't done anything like that all year. Why would you do that? It's a really tough position. I'm sure it was an extremely hard position for that manager to be in. But, like, it's just one of those things where it comes down to, I think, what you have to, and I think the bigger question is what you have to look at the organization, right? Mm-hmm. Like on the playing side, we all know Tampa Bay is super into analytics, right? So that's kind of like, I understand why they did it. Not necessarily agree with it,
and
but
I
completely understand.
And that analytics stuff is a front office driven thing, and that gets fed down. I mean, obviously they hired Cash based off of their understanding that he believes in that too. So it wasn't like that he was, force fed it or by,
No,
anyway,
for sure. And I think if anyone's done a great job is Trevor Bauer's really brought analytics into baseball, but like he's brought it in on the players' end too now. Whereas before, I bet you the front offices were the analytic people and the players were let us play the game. But with what Trevor has done and shown that like if you listen to analytics and you learn it yourself, you can. I mean, look at him. Now he's his career has taken off due to how much he's bought into his own analytics, and I think that's a big thing for guys. Is like. Let the teams worry about whatever they need to worry about, but for players, worry about your analytics and how you can get yourself better. And then when you go out there, that's all you're doing is playing the game of baseball because you've already prepped through all the other stuff, So, going back to that question, I don't agree with it, but I understand. Now, if a different team did it that's not analytically driven, then there would be a big concern there, right?
Yeah.
Like teams that just go out there, play baseball, don't really care. Like, I wouldn't say the Dodgers aren't analytically driven, but the Dodgers, they bunted a couple times in big positions in playoff, which is out of baseball, analytically wise and stuff.
It is, right, yeah.
So, like, for me, I would say that, like, if the Dodgers pulled a stunt like that, it would kind of be like, all right, that's interesting. You guys kind of just you play the game of baseball, They are an big analytic team, but, like, the way they play the game is still super baseball-y.
Well, my point also with it is, like, you had a 60-game season. These pitchers didn't have the wear and tear like they usually have in a season. So you come to October, they should have been feeling as fresh as ever.
No, I agree. And another thing too with the issue is you saw I think Nick Anderson did a great job all year, and then come postseason time he kind of got roughed up a little bit because, when you play the analytics of that guy is your guy in the pen, but he's mainly a 2-pitch guy. And like, I model my game a lot after him. He's a hard forcing guy, big curveball guy. That's kind of my MO, and it was interesting to watch him in the postseason because just goes to show you no matter how good your stuff is and how analytics might play to you, the team sees you enough they're going to get your number eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's something interesting too. I kind of look at a little bit.
So going into this year, I kind of wanted to. I had a couple of ideas I had formulated that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Now, my one thing I wanted to ask you, being on a major league mound, you're obviously throwing BP, you're throwing some live inter squads to your own teammates.
Yeah.
You did tell us earlier before we came on that you threw to Nola Arenado. You have thrown to, I believe you said, Will Myers, a couple other guys. If you had, I'm not going to ask you, who do you not want to throw to? If you had to throw to, let's say, one or two guys, you want to face somebody. Who do you want to face? Give me somebody you want to face.
I most people probably might be crazy for saying, but Mike, like Trout. Whereas, I was, able to be in his organization, kind of watch him. But that's kind of I think in my career path now and where I'm at in my career is I need to kind of test what I'm at up against. You know what I mean? I think in spring training was not rough, but it was a tough judgment time. I haven't thrown really. I think I threw one or two live bullpens to get thrown into a game. My first batter was Arenado. And then for me, I was kind of all right, well, here we go. But regardless of what the outcome was, I don't think in that moment or even at that point in time, I was super prepared. It was still early. It was kind of one of those things where you just, hey, come in, there's 2 outs, let's go. So I think facing someone and any of those guys, any of that level, I'm not just saying Mike for Mike, but any guys, any of those superstar hitters, I think I would like to face because I know where I'm at now is a lot different than where I was even in spring training, where it was in 2019, 2018, 17 in the past. So for myself, I kind of want the test. I want to see,
So think about this. Just take a step back from where you are right now. You're a senior, you're a junior or a senior at the prep, and you're watching Baseball Tonight or ESPN, and now you are where you are. Okay.
Yeah.
You're on the mound facing friggin' Nola Arenado.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about that.
Yeah.
One of the best hitters in the game.
What the hell was going through your head?
So funny thing, and this is maybe a little bit of lack of awareness on my end, but when I got told in that situation I was going in, I just you black out. You just try to do whatever you can to get out.
I think it helped you because you didn't have enough time to think about it. That probably helped too, right?
But it's funny though because you just got to get hot as quick as you can. You get told hey, you might go in. Yeah. So you kind of warm up and you're whatever, and then it's yo, you got 5. If he walks this guy, you're in. And that was the situation. So I just got hot, wasn't really paying attention to what was up. So then I get on the mound and start warming up, and I throw my last pitch, and I get the ball back, and I always just do my little thing, I'm walking around the mound, and they're now batting for the Colorado Rockies, Nola Arenado, and that's when I was all right, well here's the spring training debut for it. I wasn't even. Not that I wasn't paying attention, but when you get in that zone where you're just right, you have one job to get hot to go in the game.
Yeah.
So everything else goes out the window. You're just really focused on that. And then when you get into the game and that's the first name I saw, it's all right, well, here we go. Let's go. It's all or nothing now. I'm going to give them what I got. So
my compare, I'm thinking about it right now. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was in that situation and I'm watching this guy on TV every night, smoking homers and just being one of the top 5 players in baseball.
Yeah.
Now I'm on the mound facing this guy when literally this is something that I've dreamed about my whole life, regardless if it's a practice game or it's a regular season game. That has to be just almost in your head, dude, I made it. Regardless if it's a regular season game or not, I made it right now.
No, for sure. But I think a lot of it comes down to you have to have confidence in yourself. So it's even if it's, I'm speaking to high school players right now, you gotta, if you grabbed your best high school pitcher on Hamilton right now and you said, all right, you gotta go face Trout. You would hope they would be at the end of the day, I know they'd be whatever, but you would hope in that moment they would say, I got him.
Yeah.
This is one. I got one at bat. I'll get him this at bat, and that's kind of how you have to roll with it. There's that time where you're okay, this is cool, but at the end of the day, if you don't believe you're gonna get that guy out or you're better than him in that situation, you kind of just shot yourself in the foot there from the get-go, you know? So, like, you know, in that situation, was I kind of like, oh, okay, this is fun. But then when he got in the box, it's like every other baseball player, man.
Yeah,
like, it's I think the coolest experience is playing against guys in the minor leagues and watching them blow up. For, you know, a perfect example is, you know, I give to everyone, is the most exciting pitcher I've got to see in person is Gratterall with the Dodgers. You know, I got to witness him last year in Double-A with the Twins. And, you know, I'll never forget this. The best story I tell everyone is that the Sunday day game in Pensacola, it is 110 outside and down there. And he's on the mound to start. And we knew he threw hard. Like, we knew he got it up to 100. So we all said, all right, let's place a bet. Guess the velo. So my first guess was 97. Someone said 100. Someone said 98. First pitch was 94. It was 102. So that was like my moment when I was like,
all right, this is real.
You know, and like so you kind of watch him throw, and you know, I saw him all year last year, and it was up and down. You know, he had some shoulder stuff, and you know, he had some good games. That game in particular wasn't a good game. He walked a lot of guys, but then you watch him in the big leagues, and you know, people are blowing him up. Like, how's this guy throwing? He just steps and throws 105, and it's like, you know, it's like my favorite part about the minor league system is you watch these guys at one level. And you're kind of like, that's cool. And then you see him get to the big leagues, and you're like, all right, you know, good for him. Like, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So that's probably like the coolest thing I think too, is like when you play against these guys and then you see them, or you play against the guys and they might not be anyone when they're younger. They might have a name, but you don't see, you know, like, you know, Chris Paddock with the Padres. Yeah. You know, he did a rehab start against us. And it wasn't like he was higher up. He just he got back from Tommy John and threw against us. And he went out there, and I think he went like 6 innings, scoreless, punched 12. And at the time, I was like, who is this? Next year, break spring training as the opening day starter. You know, like it's cool to watch this thing. And regardless of, you know, one of the good feedbacks I got from my whole situation was guys I played with that, you know, either got released or with another team or just didn't work out for them. They all congratulated me. Like at the end of the day, it's no matter if you make it or not, it's a big family in baseball, and everyone wants to see everyone succeed because everyone knows how hard it is. So that's like the coolest part.
Have you talked to a lot of the other guys, you know, from South Jersey? I know the Kennedy kid, was he with the Diamondbacks? Have you talked to a lot of those other kids? Like, you know,
what? Up and down, like I said, you know, me and Struble are best friends, so I talk to him on a daily basis. He's probably texting me right now. Yeah. You know, and when it comes to like the local kids, I'm up and down. You know, me and Zach Warren went to high school together.
I was just gonna mention that. Yeah.
So I get to keep in touch with him every now and then. When I go home, I train at Baseball Performance Center in Pleasantville. My buddies, Mike Adams and Ed Charlton, who I played against and played with,
they own that.
They own it, yeah. So like I come back during the off season, and you know, there's a lot of pro guys in there that are local and stuff like that, like Sean Mooney and guys like that. But you know, I get to interact with there. So you know, he was
doing pretty well where he was, right, Mooney?
He's doing really well. Yeah. You know, I got Danny Noonan, who's with the Angels from Ocean City. Okay. He was kind of in that zone, and trust me, I've been there as a young high school kid where like you're stuck in Jersey, you're used to being away all the time, you kind of just want to get out a little bit. So he's been out in Arizona for the past like 3 months now, working out of my facility. He's turned a good corner too. So, you know, it's go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got Smeltzer with the Twins.
You know,
and he's been
me, Devin. We've played travel ball together since we were 10, 11 years old. So we always keep in touch. You know, Cody Stashak, like he works out at Adrenaline.
That was
he talks to my dad more than he talks to me. Like my dad's in the gym and stuff. So you know, it's a good group of guys, man. Everyone's, whether, you know, like, you know, for example, me and Smeltzer, we grew up together. You know, me and Zach went to high school together. Me and LT have known each other since we were babies. Like it's a really unique group of guys that are all together. And I think the coolest thing is everyone comes home. Yeah. Like, you know, I live in Arizona.
Still
I come home and we're all together. Yeah, like everyone comes back, everyone works out together, everyone keeps in touch. Like I think it's a great group of guys, and it's unique, you know, to the area. You know, baseball, you know, even when I was drafted back then, there was only really Mike and you know, like Brett, or like Kennedy from Atlantic City and guys like that. There was you know, Caesar. Like there was a small group of guys. Now it's starting.
Seems like more and more. Yeah.
You know, I know there's the kid from mainland, Petty, that's getting a lot of hype right now.
Yep.
It's awesome to see that, man. Like it's good because the area, there's a lot of talent there. I've seen a lot of guys come through.
We got them this year.
Yeah, whatever sport it is, like football. I have some like my buddies that I played against or with. Austin Johnson is with the Giants now. I see Mike Gesicki had a great catch. Like it's always good to see guys from our area succeed in whatever they do. It's exciting.
Yeah, hopefully we have a season this year, but we're back in the Cal this year, and they're on our schedule this year, mainland.
Is it?
There you go. That's going to be exciting.
How about Ocean City? Ocean City's become a powerhouse.
Ocean City's done good. The prep has put out a ton of guys. Just that area in general, man. Yeah. Whether it's whether it was a few years ago with Groom and stuff like that, like the area has constantly got whatever year it is, there's someone blowing up, and that I think that's important to the area. I feel like back when I was growing up, football was the big sport, especially in Hamilton. Football's always been the thing, and like it's cool to see how the area is kind of transformed.
Yeah, we faced Chase as a sophomore, and we hit him pretty good. We got a couple runs off of him, and last year obviously we didn't play him, but then we're hoping to get a shot at him this year. So we'll see what happens.
That's a good picture.
He's increased his reload pretty good, so we'll see what happens.
That's what I'm saying. Like you saw him as a sophomore. I would love to see, your reaction to seeing him now. 2 years later?
I mean, if it's the way he's throwing in the gym, I mean,
yeah, no, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how cool was it? Because basically, you and Zach. I mean, obviously I know both of you guys. You went to school, same class at the prep. I mean, to see him pitch a couple games for the Phillies in spring training this past year. And it looked like he was ready before all this went down, ready to take the next step and probably pitch in AAA last year. Yeah. And I'm assuming he's going to get, a solid opportunity at least to start the year this year in AAA.
Zach is in a unique situation. I got to go through it. And I think Zach's start of his career is a lot better than I started my career. And I saw Zach as a hot name in this Rule 5 candidate. And listen, the way this whole Rule 5 and protection things work, it's weird. It's different. It doesn't make any sense sometimes. I haven't gotten to speak to him since I saw that come out, but, I saw a tweet yesterday from minor league baseball, 10 names to watch out for. Zach was one of them, and I think he's put himself in a great opportunity, and whether it happens and some team says, listen, you got the stuff. We like what you did for your, he's been in 2 full years of pro ball with that. Like, we like that you were going to pull you up, or vice versa. Like you said, he's going to get a great opportunity with Philadelphia as well. So I'm super excited for him too.
Oh, absolutely. I just hard to believe from watching Phillies games that they would not give him a shot watching the bullpen the way they were this past year, being one of the worst bullpens in the history of the game. To not at least have, I'm not saying that he would have been shut down by any means, but he would have been at least compared to these other guys that just were, it was just very, at times it was just very deflating. You knew when you got to the bullpen, they were going to give up crooked numbers. It just was, it was awful.
They extended Vince Velasquez. We're fine.
I think, it's being in the business now.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I could tell, people that nothing makes sense, man. Nothing. I've seen, I would never name drop, but I've seen guys get, they tell one guy do this, another guy do that. Yeah. That guy does the one thing they tell him to do. The other guy does something completely off the charts different, and he's the guy that goes up. They might tell a guy.
I can name drop for you.
Yeah,
it sucks. Okay, he sucks. They should not extend him.
Who are you talking about?
Vince Velasquez. He sucks. They're tendering guys contracts who friggin' stink. Okay? My son, who's 10 years old, could pitch better than him.
Well, you know what it tells you about guys like Velasquez, Pivetta, guys that we've seen have great stuff? It's up here, too. It's like I think a lot of it's mental with them.
Baseball is 100% the most mental game. Because, you look at football, well, you have 5 days to prepare. You play on a Sunday or a Monday or a Thursday, and that's it for the week. You're done. Basketball, you're somewhat similar. You don't play as many games. But baseball, it's like
every day.
You got to get over it quick. You got to be able to move forward. Or on the flip side, if you have a great outing, you can't just take that and expect it every time, or put the mindset of, oh, I got this. Your guard's down. Like that is a hard part about the game. And it took me, I had a conversation with a friend today about, you know, a lot of people, what I've seen, and I was until this year, is a lot of people have trouble getting, you know, they think practice speed is practice speed, game speed is game speed, and it's hard to recreate game speed in practice. Like, it's hard to get to that point. And that's like a mental thing for me. And I was the guy who's like, you know what? Yeah, when I practice, this is what I'm like. But when I'm in the game, this is what I'm like. And I was able to take this summer and kind of put, well, how can I get my game speed in practice? So when I practice, it's what I'm going to be doing. You know, a lot of times I would throw my bullpens out there and throw my bullpens and, you know, work on things, but like, that's not how I do it in the game. You know, so that was like something where it's too, is like, you see guys like that. And you brought it up perfectly. Like, the mental side of things is way more important than people really understand.
Is that something you really thought you had to really improve on a little bit when you had that time to really analyze your entire game, the way you pitch this particular year?
If you ask 95, I wouldn't say 95%. If you ask the majority group of pitchers, do you throw harder in practices or games? Most people say, I throw harder in games. And I would agree, that is the case. But that being said, I was that guy as well. And the first day I showed up to this facility, push performance on that, and I threw a bullpen. I was 90 to 93, grunting to maybe hit like a 93.5.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to the week I get back from Driveline, I didn't throw a ball below 97.0. And I was up to 98.0 in a bullpen. And granted, the year before, the hardest I threw was 98.0 twice.
So
just to put perspective,
what makes your velocity go up that much? Is it lifting? Is it?
It's a combination of everything.
Mechanics?
I think
is it
it's
mechanics?
A little bit of everything. It's like, you know, you got to make sure you're on a good lifting program, a great throwing program. You got to understand yourself. But the biggest thing I can say is, and this goes to anything, like in life, in work, like if you don't buy into something or have conviction in what you're doing, it's not going to work. So if you get up on the mound and you tell yourself right from the get-go, well, I can't throw as hard as I do in the game. I'll tell you right now, you're not going to.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it took me to realize when I went through a little velo phase in my throwing program, and it was immediate. It was the next week I was touching, 94.5 in the pen. Then the following was 95.1, then 95.8, then 96.2, then 97.1, then 97.6, then 98, 98.4. Like, when you see it in real time and you're able to buy into it, you see the progression, right? Like, if you go into it saying, that's not me. Well, you're not going to be that person then.
You also have to realize too, you're growing into your body. You're only 25. You know what I mean?
And, and that's what's funny
when you're
too. Yeah.
Trying to throw 98, your body's not even fully developed yet. When you're 23, 24, then you're starting to feel it.
No, yeah. And my biggest thing is like what I tell people, like a lot of people have asked me that question, like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Well, what I did might not work for everyone. And I'm going to be honest with you, it doesn't work for everyone. I went through your Texas Baseball Ranch throwing programs, your Tom House holds and throws, some form of this weighted ball, some form of that weighted ball. Like, I went out there and I tried everything. And while that might work for some guys, it didn't work for me. So then with the Driveline style throwing, I never got into it. We dabbled with it. We took bits and pieces. And then the summer, like, that's the style that this place was. And I kind of just was like, I always told myself, not that Driveline was a last resort, but like, if I really needed it, I'm going to go there. And it's expensive, and I'll go there and do it. And once I saw the results happening, I was like, I got to go through with this. I got to put myself in the best situation. I went and did it, and that's what worked for me. But one thing I can guarantee is no matter what you're doing, if you don't either A, believe it's going to work, or B, buy in and do everything 110%, it's not going to work.
Absolutely.
And that's like anything. Like, if you guys went into your shows and just said, oh, here we go. Like, you know what I mean? You wouldn't get the most out of it. But like,
that's maybe a part we do it, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
We do that when we don't have guests on. So
yeah. No, but we usually about an hour before the show, I text Paul, what are we going to talk about tonight? But
we've been doing. Well, actually, I don't know. I felt like we were obviously with guests. We're talking. Well, we got you on late last week. I guess we figured out that we were going to have you. So
yeah, we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
But honestly, Joe, we had, as Brian shows us here, we had Leo Mazzoni on. Leo Mazzoni, you know who he is, was a pitching coach for the Atlanta Braves. We had him on earlier
in
this
June,
year, I believe.
June, July, it was, yeah.
Yeah, we had him on midsummer. And
it was before baseball started again.
Obviously, he was the pitching coach in the heyday for the Braves with Glavine, Smoltz, all those guys. And his whole take was location over velocity. Okay, 80%. But he also had guys who didn't throw hard. Okay,
yeah.
So I mean, Smoltz did, but Glavine and Maddox were high 80s, low 90s guys.
Yeah.
They didn't throw hard at all. So,
their command was so
elite,
precise. Yeah.
This is an awful answer. This is an awful question because you pissed either side off, right? And the only thing I can say to this is, look, we get the analytics. The average right-handed fastball in the major leagues is 93 miles an hour. That's average.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you watched the postseason, there was a night where I think the average was 97.
Yeah, they're all thrown.
So what I will say is velocity does not make you a great pitcher at all.
Right.
I've seen a lot of guys throw really hard, no idea where it's going, never make it. But one thing I will say is with velocity, and this isn't an excuse or like telling kids to throw 150%, but like, I mean, let's just be honest here. Velocity gets you noticed, right? Like velocity is going to, in today's world, perfect game runs the world for young kids. And the only thing they see when you click on a profile is velocity. Right now, is that the way you should train? Absolutely not. Like you need to learn how to pitch. But what I will say is, perfect example, if you throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball middle, or a 100-mile-an-hour fastball middle, the 100, you're more likely to get away with something. And that's kind of how we look at it as pitchers, right? Like just because you throw 100, if you told Mike Trout 100's coming, he's going to hit it out of the park every single time. It's that, like, this goes back to that Astros thing where if you know it's coming, you're probably going to do pretty well with it, right? Like, but with that being said is when you have that extra velocity behind your stuff, it's just an extra thing hitters have to kind of worry about, you know? And like, so again, he's a legend. I would never, I will always take his experience way over anything in life. But what I will say is in today's times where velo is such a thing, I would say it's 50-50. You have to worry about both. As a young, and this is speaking to a young or a high school kid or a college kid, it's 50-50. I'm not going to tell you, like, go throw plyo balls against the wall as hard as you can so you throw 95 and then you're fine. But that being said is if you grab a baseball and you're throwing it at a 2-inch square for 50 throws, not worrying about, and it's 82, is that going to get you anywhere? No, either. It's that 50-50. You have to, and how I like, and how kind of as a perspective of how my throwing program is, you build up, get your arm ready to go. Right now I'm in a velo phase where essentially I am throwing stuff at a wall as hard as I can, different weights, without a care of where it really goes. I'm just throwing it for velo because then the next phase is taking that and learning how to command it. Okay. So it's all a process in how you approach it, I think. Like, again, you're a high school coach. Like, if you go tell your kids, yo, go throw this against the wall as hard as you can for 15 throws until you hit your top, you're going to get a bunch of kids who are throwing balls over the backstop.
Right.
But at the same time, if you tell your kids, hey, I want you to go out there and throw every ball at this circle until you get it, you're also going to get kids that are probably aiming, So my thing for kids, 50-50 approach. In order to throw hard, you got to work on it. In order to have command, the perfect goal is, and I think, you see like a guy like Garrett Cole. Well, he throws 100 and he throws strikes, and look what he does. I think that's the perfect, like the perfect person. Or you see this whole postseason with guys that Walker Buehler and just guys that throw hard and they throw strikes, and that's why they're the best pitchers in the game.
Well, so I mean, a guy I guess that you could say doesn't have that supreme velocity, but still has had a lot of success is Aaron Nola. I mean, his velocity did increase a little bit, but in the beginning, he was only throwing like 92, 93 when he first came up.
And the biggest thing in baseball now is, again, analytics. So you look at Aaron Nola, and what you would probably want to look at is like, okay, so he doesn't throw hard, so why does he get so many swings and misses? And you would probably look at, well, what's his – I don't know what he throws in particular. I don't follow him as much, but like there's guys that will throw 92, but their induced vertical break on a fastball is, big league average is 15 inches. Most guys in baseball are pretty good. Say Nola's at 22. Well, his 90 at 22 is not getting hit. I'm like, no one's going to hit that pitch.
His two-seamer, he's got a great curveball. I mean, he's got strikeout stuff. He can miss bats.
And that's why I think it's a big 50-50 thing is if you have good stuff, electric stuff, hard fastballs, great breaking balls, great changeup, and you don't throw it for a strike, you're useless.
Yeah.
Right. But if you throw everything around the zone and nothing's great, it's not as good either. It's that mix of, can you have electric stuff and consistently throw strikes? And that was always an issue in my career. I always had a great curveball. I just never was able to put myself in the best situation to use it until, 2019, when I learned how I should be pitching. And now taking a deep dive into analytics, I know how I need to throw in order to use my best weapon.
But it is. I think you hit the nail on the head, because every time I go on Twitter, you're right. Perfect game. All they have is the radar gun, and they want to see how fast you're throwing. Okay, that is all they want to see. And I think nowadays, if you're 18, 17 years old, and you could throw 95, 96, or 97, you're going to get a contract. You're going to get a contract. They don't even care what other pitch you throw. If you're throwing 96 or 97, you're going to get a contract. And I think, obviously you weren't throwing that hard, but at the time you had the height, you had the velocity, and at that point though, your second pitch was good, but you didn't have anything else. Now you have the arsenal with the velocity and everything else, and now you're turning into a pro pitcher, that's what's giving it.
And that's where I'm in my situation now. Like I said, I was able to take the time and improve on what I was like. At the end of the day, just because your stuff's good doesn't mean you don't have to do it. I turned my curveball from being good to not just, it's always going to be my best pitch, but I made it more usable in the game, right? Like everyone wants a big, hard curveball, but will that actually work, right? Like I've noticed I had a really big, hard curveball, which everyone wants. But when you got to land it for a strike, it automatically has to come out over the hitter's head. And 95% of the time, professional hitters are going to see that. So my transition was, how do I keep the same curveball without having to make it so big? It's little things like that. Like, the way analytics are, and you kind of said it right. Like, perfect game, that's all you see is velocity, velocity, velocity. And that is what gets kids looks. But at the end of the day, you need that. I think it's a 50-50 balance, man. And because, like, the one thing I can't stand on Twitter is when the one kid, it's 50-50. It's the kids who get blown up for throwing super hard that just can't do anything else. But on the flip side is I can't stand the Twitter dads that are like, he throws a 100-mile-an-hour pitch, and they're like, well, he balked, or or that's not going to happen. That's not going to work. Look where the ball ended up. And it's like, this kid's throwing a 100-mile-an-hour in college, high school, 95, whatever it is. Like, I don't care where it is. You know what I mean? Like, I in that world, as long as it's around the plate at that age, you're going to get guys out. That's just how simple. That's just the facts, And like, it's funny you see guys, oh, he's gonna hurt his arm. You can hurt your arm walking across the street, falling and breaking your arm. Like, baseball's a brutal sport for your arm. So it doesn't matter.
You say you're better off after Tommy John, are you?
Yeah, a lot of guys. That's a lot of things. Hitting the velo and the elbow. Like when you get, you got some velo, then you blow out, and then you get TJ and you come back twice. You got a brand new elbow. Like in today's world where a Tommy John surgery is like going to the grocery store. Like it's everyone does it. Before, back in the day, you heard Tommy John, you're like, okay, that kid's done for life.
I wanted to ask you. I did want to ask
a year
you
off, and that's it.
Before we go, we got to let you go because we're running into the second NFL game here. But we usually run our shows about an hour. But some of us do have to go to work tomorrow, even though you're out on the West Coast hanging out. We are getting a little towards our bedtime here on the East Coast.
I mean, it's 8:00, Florida.
Yeah, listen, I got a child. There's two children.
Yeah.
You know,
And Paulie's in bed by 8:30. We're cutting into his time.
Yeah, he's a bachelor. He's got nobody. You know, he's hanging out. He's got poinsettias in the back of him. He's hanging out.
Bachelor life. Yeah. Look at him.
So, in the couple of the articles I was reading, I wanted to ask you. I know you probably take pride in this. In the 440 some odd plus innings that you've pitched at that level,
I know what you're going to talk about.
26 home runs. That's a lot of innings and not a lot of home runs.
It's funny is I saw that same thing and I had the same reaction you did. I was
like, is that surprising to you, or because
yeah, I mean,
a lot of pitchers throw 26 home runs in like 1 year.
It's funny as I brought that story up to a buddy. He goes, "Well, I did that in like 2018, like 20."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I think it's about how you pitch, man. Like, yeah, I will give up hits. Like last year, a perfect example is, and again, this is why my career is what it is, and I'm super honest with myself and my career, and I'm realistic about it. Is a reason why I never got to the big leagues because I was inconsistent. That's plain fact, exactly why I'm not in the big leagues. Like, if you look at my stats from last year, I gave up 60-something hits. 30 of them were in 1 month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, that's a bad month. I had a great April, May, and June hit, and I was the worst pitcher in the organization. And then July, August comes, and I'm good. But, like, to be a big leaguer and to be successful, I can't afford those. And that's something that I'm taking accountability for, and that's what I'm hoping for when I move into this new phase of the new organization. And that's why, like I said, I want a fresh start. I don't want that. Well, he's a great pitcher, but he's inconsistent. Like, I don't want that on my back anymore. Like, I want to be able to go into a new organization and just pitch, right? But with that being said, like, and it's funny is, out of those, I have ones in my mind where I'm like, that I remember, I'll never forget, like Aristides Aquino in the big leagues with the Reds now. I threw him a 1-1, or I don't know what the count was, but it was a breaking ball that literally was in a great spot for me, and he dove and hit it out of the park on a line drive that if I was playing in the outfield, I probably would have jumped and caught. But it was just like a missile right out of the park. So it's neat though, because like I remember these things, But I saw that stat too, and I was kind of, not impressed, but like I was kind of like, okay, that means something to myself. That like when I do give up contact, at least it's not a bomb every time.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, Joe, it was great to have you on once again. Obviously, very exciting time for you, but at the same time, good insight. Don't hear that too often from players at any level. So that's Paul Allen chiming in there at the end.
LT is going to give. I know he means that because
that's a good comment.
LT,
and LT's. Our families are super close. When I'm not home, our families are always doing stuff, and like. I appreciate that, but like, it's a big shout out to my parents, my father, my mother. It's just,
I think this is Drew be giving you
oh my God. Who let that kid have a computer?
He's a YouTube account. I guess.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It looks like a YouTube emblem.
That's his,
who let him? I'm going to have to talk to his father in a minute.
They're all, I don't know if Jordan came on too, but unless he's commenting as Jordan, I'm not sure.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all coming out. They're all coming out.
They're all families coming out. Love it.
Yeah, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
I know.
Thank you guys for having me.
That you like doing what you can for the Hamilton guys, so we appreciate it.
Well, no, I mean, one thing that someone asked me the other day was I forget what the question was, but I said like my biggest thing I have is my support cast. Like whether it's the people that are closest to me in my life or the people back home that have supported me through. It was funny. I was talking to Dan Ruffman with the Gazette. He's like, I've been following you since you were 11 with the Hamilton All-Stars. And like, I kind of sat there and I was like, this is a guy that's, you guys are both like, you called me in middle school basketball. Like people have seen me from the kid who played the Hamilton All-Stars all the way through this process. And like, I'm fortunate to have the Towns back. And, I think it's super cool.
Yeah. It's
thank you guys again.
No
for everything.
Drew said he misses you.
Miss you too, bud.
Yeah, man. It's seriously though. It's not just because it's somebody that we know, and it's a famous person. He could be a famous person. He could be a big league player. dude, it's somebody from our hometown. You make us proud. It's and especially for me, it's somebody that I've had come through me. And I guess as a coach and as a teacher, you always have people that have touched your life, and like you always want to see them succeed. And it doesn't have to be somebody who comes from nothing, or comes from anybody that comes through your classroom or comes through your basketball program, baseball program, anything. You always want to see somebody succeed. So I guess for me, it's a little bit different, I think. So that, I always try to keep in touch with athletes or anybody.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, I don't know. It just it makes me like really proud to feel what you're going through right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like each step that you take. And I was hoping the Angels would give you that shot. And I think COVID kind of just like zapped it. But
Absolutely.
at least this almost feels like, all right, I think this might even be better for you, actually.
For me, it's full circle, right?
Yeah.
Like going back, the first team I ever talked to was the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, right.
This whole process was insane with teams.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the team that was first there was the last team. And not to say this is it and this is what's going to happen, because anything can happen. But for me, feels full circle. And like I said, I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm glad everyone's on board with it. And that means the most, is I have the support of people.
Yeah, we're here, man.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you,
We'll be following you, obviously, as you get to February, March, room free, and hopefully go out there and make the big league squad, make the for the 25-man, whatever they end up doing. Who knows? I mean, I don't think COVID's going away, so I think they might have to extend the rosters again, like they just did this past year, to have those extra spots. But obviously, best of luck to you. I know you'll work hard and continue to do so, and we'll be obviously got a lot of close watchers from a distance, but it's obviously
we got a brand new stadium there too, right?
I was fortunate enough to go. When I was out there for my physicals, they gave me a tour. So beautiful ballpark.
They hosted the World Series. They hosted the World Series and the NLCS as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're also, when I was there, it's set up for the National Bull Riding Championship, which was cool stuff to do in a stadium. So, listen, great ballpark. Everything is awesome about the opportunity right now. Like I said, I'm just excited to play some baseball, man. I just want baseball back. I'm over stuff. I just want to play.
We want normalcy again, obviously. Yeah.
Did they present you with a number or anything yet?
No, I saw something the day I got added that was like number 38, but I don't know if that's it. I'll have a heads up probably before spring training starts. But like I imagine it's probably like a kind of off the wall number they give you
or something.
Yeah, something crazy. So
you don't care about what number you have right now, as long as you have the opportunity, right?
0,
right, exactly.
I don't care. Like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm just ready to play.
Nice, man.
All right, so that wraps it up here on Unsportsmanlike Conduct here with Joe Gatto this evening. Now with the Texas Rangers, so we'll be following him, and obviously we'll be back on next Monday for all of you that are used to me and Mike Velarde with our normal slot talking about obviously
another Eagles loss.
Probably the NFL just going through. It looks like Washington and Pittsburgh going right down the wire, tied at 17 in the fourth quarter, and San Francisco's about to play the Buffalo in Arizona. Actually, they had to relocate. So,
who would have thought that the Giants and the Redskins are going to be fighting for the division?
No, you got to say the football team. We can't say the Redskins.
Redskins.
Come on,
they're Redskins.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. The Native Americans are going for the division title.
We're gonna have to wrap this up before we get in trouble here this evening. But obviously,
that's the more local term. The Native Americans. It's better than the Redskins.
You're right. Anyway, that's it. That's it for the show. We'll see you next Monday. Thanks again, Joe, for being with us. It was a great interview, and we will see you next time. Have a great night, everybody, and have a great week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.